Hello, everybody, and welcome to Virtual Travel Escapes. I'm Rhonda Swian, leisure manager at Paull Travel, and my lovely co-host is Julie Bekdashe. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Rhonda, and welcome, everyone.
So I know right now our world is still currently not really accessible physically for us, but you know what? We can still dream. So thank you all for joining us on our little webinar series where we're showcasing different destinations and experiences from around the world. So we really hope that this will give you some be inspiring and information about where you might want to take your next vacation to and plan for the future. So thank you again for joining us. Julie and I love any feedback that you have. So please, if you want to send us a little note, maybe you have a place that you've been dreaming of going and you want us to showcase that and do a webinar, just let us know. We love hearing from you. So any feedback is great and welcomed. So before we dive into the world of motor coach touring today, and I think you're really going to enjoy the presentation, I wanted to kind of go over just a few little housekeeping details before we get started. Next week, we're going to start February off with a little tropical paradise visit. We're going to be featuring Paull cruising, which will be giving us a little taste of cruising around the French Polynesia and a little bit of the South Pacific. So kind of showcasing Tahiti. So that's next Thursday at 4 p.m. So please register for that. It'll be a great presentation as well. Now, all of our webinars are being recorded. So if you've missed any of the past webinars that you think you might want to go back and take a view, please, you'll find them on our Paull Travel website. So paulltravel.com/webinars. And all of our previous recorded webinars will all be listed there. Today, if you have any questions, please put anything in the Q&A box. All questions welcome. The chat box is also there too. Maybe you've experienced something along one of the destinations that are going to be showcased today and you want to, mention something, please, in the chat, that would be great. We would love to hear from you. So Julie, I'm going to turn this over to you and have you take the honor of welcoming our wonderful guest today.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rhonda. The guest we have with us today, is Brad Gibson, as you know, from Insight Vacations. And it's really fun because Brad feels like family to us, I'd have to say, because we have known him. He's been with Insight for more than 20 years. So that's about a long time. So he often, in pre-COVID times, he would stop in the office often because he's based in Alberta. And it just, it says a lot to be with the company for that long. Like he totally believes in Insight, and it is just an awesome company who have been creating magical journeys for more than 40 years. So excited for what Brad is going to share with us today. And I know you will all enjoy our presentation. And if anyone's been on an Insight trip, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And other than that, Brad, I'll pass it over to you.
Well, thank you very, very much, Julie and Rhonda. It's so wonderful to see your faces. I wish I could see you in person as well, but what a pleasure to join you today for this great series of dreaming about travel. I'll probably tune in next week because Paull Gauguin sounds fantastic as well. That's a great experience to look into as well. But what a pleasure it is to be here today, talk a little bit about Insight Vacations, who and what we are, and dip our toe in the water and get a little taste of southwestern England and Wales with this beautiful trip we have. So just bear with me one moment. We'll get a presentation brought up here. And welcome to the wonderful world of Insight Vacations. So just to give a little brief intro on us, we are premium escorted journeys that we offer for our guests around the world. And those are being operated. We have beautiful trips right here in North America. We're going to be starting into South America once the world opens up. We've got a nice trip to India. But by far, the majority of our trips around the world are in overseas in Europe and Britain and what we call the ancient civilizations. Those are the Eastern Mediterranean countries like Greece, Turkey, Israel, Jordan, and Egypt. So just to give a quick overview of the places we go. And as we go through the presentation and when I wrap up at the end, we'll let you know what makes Insight Vacations unique in the world of escorted journeys or guided vacations and special, and what brings the premium level to that. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about just going guided in general. And all the wonderful ladies at Paull Travel know this when they're consulting with you, their clients. There's always lots of options on ways to travel and experience different countries and destinations. The beauty of traveling with Insight Vacations is a real seamless, carefree experience. The details have been sorted in advance. And that allows us, the more planning that goes into it, the more free time is opened up. So we're very efficient in what we do. We take great care in looking after our guests, providing incredible information that really brings the destinations alive as we travel throughout, and the fun and the humor. And we have just the group camaraderie that happens on an Insight Vacation is wonderful. And that's what creates these memories of a lifetime as you travel throughout us. Just on this opening slide, these are all photos that guests of ours have posted on Instagram using the hashtag we have as Insight Moments. And there's just an endless amount of Insight moments happening throughout our trips as we go along. That is yours truly. That was my last big trip, and it was so wonderful. And that was to Jordan. And I'm standing there up above the monastery, which is the sister facade of the treasury in Petra in Jordan. I do call Calgary home, and as Julie mentioned, I've been traveling in style with Insight since 2000. So over 20 years now. I love what I do. I love the wonderful people that I interact with, and Paull Travel's right at the top of the list for that. And also the fact that I work for and represent a brand in the travel industry that is just wonderful. And that's kept me around a long, long time because I really believe in what we do, and I love hearing from guests that have traveled with us. So today's journey, we had our little introduction of both myself and with Insight Vacations, and we'll touch a bit more on that. Our featured journey is a lovely itinerary we've come out with called Country Roads of Wales, Devon, and Cornwall. After that, we'll talk a little bit about the Insight difference and what really makes us unique and special in the marketplace. Some important well-being measures we've put in place as terms of when the world reopens and the steps we've taken to ensure the well-being of our guests. And of course, any questions that you may have at the end as well. And Julie will be monitoring that as we go throughout. So the name of the trip is Country Roads of Wales, Devon, and Cornwall. This was actually designed and brought out in 2019 to be a new trip last year. Now, unfortunately, because of COVID, we haven't had a chance to operate yet. But for a new trip, and again, I've been around a long time, this was sort of what we call an instant hit. We had lots of bookings from around the world on this, and our guests do come from around the world. That's part of the great experience of traveling with Insight is you're with like-minded guests that have, quite often picked an itinerary for very similar reasons, and they come from all around the English-speaking world. Country Roads is a series of trips that we've had for many, many years, and one of the key sort of premises is get a little bit off the beaten path and enjoy the countryside. And this one certainly lives up to that. So I'll start out with our itinerary map just to give you a little visual representation of where we're going here. The numbers in the circles are how many nights we're staying everywhere. And the pace of going on a guided vacation is very important. And there's different paces. It's never a question of right or wrong or good or bad. It's choice for you. But it's always nice to have lots of 2-night stays. London really is just our starting and finishing base on this. So we include 1 night at the beginning, 1 night at the end. You can always add on additional nights. And we have the ability to set up sightseeing for you in London outside of this trip as well. So anyone at Paull Travel can help you out with that. But basically from London, we're heading west along the Great West Way. We're going to go to Oxford, make lots of little stops. And the beauty of this trip is the stunning English and Welsh countryside, the natural beauty throughout with some incredible diversity. Obviously, you're starting and finishing in London, but you have key historic cities such as Bath and Cardiff. We're in Cornwall, Devon, and then in Dorset as well, before we make our way back to London. But just to give you an idea, and what I love about journeys like this that have with all 2-night stays is it creates a very nice rhythm as we travel, because obviously we'll be doing things with the group, but also have free time to do things on our own. And when you have 2 nights, you have more of that free time to enjoy along the way. But this is just packed through all sorts of fun. You're going to have the full debate on whether it's scones or scones, jam on top, jam on bottom. We'll cover the whole thing on this trip. So when we leave London, we're going to be heading west again along this beautiful Great West Way. And one of the stops we'll make is in the Cotswold with the honeycombed houses, and Oxford. This is the Christchurch College Gardens, and just some beautiful historic places. And, you think about the English countryside anywhere, beautiful gardens, manicured, and beautiful countryside as well. So when we make our way through, you'll see these lovely row houses, the honey-colored row houses in Cotswolds. And also when we get to Bath, we're there for a couple nights. We will take you to, so just to give you an idea of a day in the life with Insight, we're staying in beautiful hotels. This particular trip has at least 2 really, really stunning ones, but good first-class accommodation, always well located. And that means that when you wake up in the morning, we include breakfast every day. You're looked after there. And then for us, it's easy to start our day because we're well located. And we have a number of what we call relaxed starts on this journey, which is really indicating that we're not doing any activities till about 9 o'clock or after. So it's not up super early. The earliest morning on this trip is actually the very first day leaving London. Other than that, once you get out into the countryside, it's nice and relaxed as you go along. But in Bath, for example, after we have our morning breakfast, we're going to take you on a lovely guided tour. And with Insight Vacations, we have amazing travel directors, and that's the person that's leading the trip. They're with you from the very start to the very finish. They're not only incredibly knowledgeable, but they're chosen by Insight for their terrific personality and the real care that they have for their guests. They love looking after people, and they love showing off the destinations we go to. And we do that in tandem with local experts that join our trip in certain towns and cities and villages along the way, so that we can have a chance to learn even more. And these are people that are experts in that particular place, and they're exceptionally passionate about it. So we'll head out after breakfast, visit the ancient Roman bath that Bath is known for, of course, and then have a guided tour around the grounds there. And then we have an option for a walking tour afterwards. And that's how we build our trips, is that we'll have in certain days options that guests can join, or if you choose, you can just have free time on your own. So to wander the streets and soak up the atmosphere. In this case, we do a wonderful walking tour, sort of the cobbled streets of Bath, and end up having a nice tea and hearing stories about Jane Austen as well. So there's all sorts of great history built into this. After that, this is one that I think is absolutely stunning. And we're heading literally into another country now. After Bath, we're heading into Wales. So before we end up in Cardiff for our 2 nights, we're going to make a beautiful visit to Brecon Beacon National Park. And it's just stunning scenery. It's a mountain range in Wales, and Wales is renowned for its sort of rugged national beauty. And we offer you a choice here. And what we do is you can have some time, you can obviously, we'll take you to the park and you can sort of have your own time to see the beauty of it. But we set up to go on what we consider a gentle hike, nothing too strenuous, but a gentle hike with a ranger, and identifying the incredible flora and fauna that are available in the national park. Or if you want something more leisurely, we have also set up a lecture with a naturalist that you can take part in that. So just to give our guests a bit of a choice and an option, but I think this looks absolutely stunning. And for myself, I would be signing up for the gentle hike and going out. Hopefully it's a nice day and we can go enjoy some beautiful scenery as well. And then into Cardiff for our 2 nights, we're going to do some city exploration there. And once we leave Wales, now we're heading into that southwest section of England and into Devon. So there's just an example of talking about what we call insight choice. And that's where on certain days on our trips, our guests are given a choice of different activities. So this is representative of going on a hike in Brecon Beacons. After that, when we head down into the Devon area, another beautiful national park, Exmoor, where we'll have a chance to visit there as well in the Dartmoor countryside, and really get a chance to experience some more natural beauty, but also these beautiful, quaint villages along the coastline. And each day we're visiting typically 1 or 2 of these little places. We go to Biddeford, which is beautiful. And then we're en route to Dartmoor National Park. And we're spending 2 nights at Bovey Castle, which is really, really stunning. Got a picture coming up of that as well. Another place that we visit on the coast. It looks like it's a Louis, it's just Lou. We visit Lou, a beautiful, quaint little town built, coming down to the ocean, and the hills going up with the beautiful colored buildings, and a chance to walk around and explore these places and really soak up the English countryside as well. There actually is in the scarf and blue blazer is Sharon. That's one of our travel directors that would operate in England and lead guests on this. And Sharon is very well known within the company. And again, not only for incredible knowledge and how she can bring the destination alive, but her true caring for her guests and making sure that they're having magical moments and all their wants and needs are met. Something that our travel directors do so well that happens really behind the scenes is making sure that the trip unfolds as it should. And there's so many little things they do behind the scenes as we journey along that I always compare that to if we were traveling on our own. And lots of people, appreciate the freedom of traveling on their own, but then you are left to sort the details and you have to do the transportation and a lot of the information that you simply wouldn't know, and the connections to these locals as well. The introductions that can be made along the way is absolutely stunning. We also visit Plymouth, famous Plymouth. It's cobblestone streets and gin factories, but of course the Mayflower, the launching point, the starting point for people from England going to the New World. So we have a beautiful chance to cruise Plymouth Harbor as well and explore the city there. And you can see Sharon there with some of our lovely guests out enjoying the sights. We also have incredible dining on Insight as well. So I've mentioned these beautiful breakfasts every day. Typically on our journeys, more often than not, lunches on our own. But on this trip, you'll get the sort of high tea, and it could be like a morning tea or an afternoon tea. So some days you'll have sort of a lunch experience. And then otherwise, though, we're out and about and our guests sort of take the opportunity to get lunch on their own. And then in the evenings, we'll include dinners certain evenings, and we leave other evenings open, very much on purpose. So our guests have a chance to, have the choice and flexibility, if you wish. But this is a wonderful experience. We have all sorts of different types of dining on different trips around Europe. And one of them that we offer is called Farm to Table. And it's all about locally sourced, fresh ingredients, seasonal items, and we have some amazing meals. So this is at one of the country banners that we visit, and it's John and Anne, and wonderful people. And John sort of runs he's the front of the house, and Anne is the cook, and they've got all these incredible fresh ingredients and treat us to a wonderful meal as well. And then again, as I mentioned, when we're sort of finishing the one day in Devon, we're making our way into Dartmoor National Park, and we're staying at Bovey Castle. Bovey Castle, 5-star accommodation right in the heart of the national park. So I think you can see throughout this, you're getting some city experiences, but a lot of this trip is beautiful accommodation and in incredible settings where you really feel the warmth of the natural surroundings there. So a beautiful accommodation, and everything on this trip just hits the notes that I love about what we can offer to our guests with Insight Vacations. Just incredible level of accommodation that we have here. You can see the stunning lobby area as well. So very historic. That this particular property's had a big refurbishment as well. And a lot of these, when that happens, you know, they're sort of brought back to their former glory. So you're getting beautiful accommodation, but also in this incredible setting. There's all sorts of, again, we have a number of what we call manor or house visits, the English history of some of these manor houses. The lady that's in the middle with the sort of the long jacket or cover on there is Caroline, Lady of the Manor at Sandhouse. That's one of the visits we make on this trip. And it's been in their family for centuries. And sort of in the modern times, you see that a lot of these manor houses are opening up, and we've had a chance to make a special connection. This isn't something that, you know, you typically find in a guidebook per se. So we've made a connection with this place, and she is good enough to take our guests on a wonderful tour of the estate, of the grounds and the gardens. And we also have a chance to have some wonderful high tea with her as well. And this is where I love the shots. The sort of the endless debate I find of, do you pronounce it scones or scones? And then the old jam or cream on top. And this is so much fun. And I tell you, we did a trip, a staff trip last year. We're lucky enough to have meetings overseas. And the last one we had in the summer of 2019, we're actually in Ireland, but we stopped one afternoon for this lovely afternoon tea, and out came the scones and the cream and the jam. And they became this debate among all of us. What's better? What do you like? How should it be done? And of course, when it's all said and done, you're going to do it however you like. I find I like the jam on top, but it's the question. I find whatever's on the top is sort of that's where you get the taste sort of immediately, and then the cream kind of comes with it. But I mean, you go on this trip, I'm sure the whole group will be laughing and having a grand old debate about pronunciations and what should go where as they're having their high tea. But just beautiful places that we're visiting, such warm hospitality and delicious treats and cuisine to be had throughout. I neglected to mention, just thinking about food, if I dial back to the beginning of the trip, when we leave London, we visit a few places and we end up in Bath. That trip starts, that first day is a Sunday, and your welcome dinner, which we do at the beginning of our trips, everybody together and let's have a welcome dinner. It's a traditional Sunday roast. So I mean, what a great way to start the trip on that. But this really is fantastic dining experiences throughout. So we say thank you to Caroline, and that would be one of several magical experiences there as well. And we also have a really special stay, I would consider, which is the last 2 nights before we head back to London in Dorset, and we're staying at the Summer Lodge. Now, the Summer Lodge is a Red Carnation hotel. Now, I'll mention a little bit after this, Insight Vacations is part of the Travel Corporation, which is 40 travel brands around the world as part of a group. Red Carnation Hotels, if you're not familiar, check it out sometime, redcarnationhotels.com. A beautiful, beautiful collection of 20 properties that are boutique hotels, very unique and individual, each and every one of them. And this is one, the Summer Lodge in Dorset. So a stunning location for one beautiful 5-star property, and all sorts of wonderful activities available as well. There's falconry, horseback riding. You can sign up and learn croquet. I would be in on that. I would probably be pushing to do as many of these activities as I could, because I think in this particular case, notwithstanding some of the visits we're doing in the countryside, what a beautiful base for us to have. And I think you see that throughout this trip, that we have some really incredible accommodation, and it's a chance to also relax and unwind during the trip as well, which is such a huge pleasure as well. So that's just a brief visual of some of the highlights that you can expect on a country roads journey, and in this particular case of Wales, Devon, and Cornwall. But we have lots of country roads journeys. They're typically some of the most popular itineraries that we offer, in all honesty. So coming back to the travel corporation, so you can see from this, this is just a handful of the brands in the travel corporation. But last year in 2020, 100th anniversary. So we are family owned and family run by the Tolman family. They're absolutely wonderful. The great grandfather started 100 years ago with a hotel property on the coast of South Africa, and it has all grown from there. But you can see some of our wonderful brands that operate both guided vacations, ourselves, our sister brand Luxury Gold. You see Red Carnation there as well. And Red Carnation Hotels, really everything that it is and how unique and the high level of service has been put onto the rivers with Uniworld Boutique River Cruise Collection. So we've got all sorts of wonderful brands. And we really make travel matter, and we make travel personal. And that's really a big ethos of what we believe in as we travel along. So we have over 100 premium journeys, loads of insight experiences throughout. But just to give you an idea, again, of some of the countries that we visit, there's really nowhere in Europe, for the most part, we don't travel to and have wonderful trips to. So we've got all sorts of choice and selection. And, you know, as Rhonda mentioned at the very beginning, you know, the world is not open to us right now, but it will be. It's coming. You know, there's a lot of moving pieces. We all know that. And it could very well be that as things start to open up, it may be only certain areas or countries in Europe. I'm not sure, and we'll wait and see how that is. But that's part of the beauty of what we have to offer with Insight, is just so much choice and flexibility. But the bottom line is, you will travel when the time is right for you. And when you are ready, we'll be there waiting for you. And the wonderful team of Paull Travel can assist you with any of those arrangements. So with Insight Vacations, you know, we talked a little bit about the journey. But again, what is it that makes us sort of who and what we are? I think this is sort of how we've summed it up in 3 phrases. So all the sights and the insights, and that's very much speaking to the idea that you will get the key sightseeing highlights, most certainly included with Insight Vacations, but you'll also get the insights through our travel directors, local experts, and just locals that we've set up Insight experiences with, that again, really make it an engaging, connective experience, and that you'll feel that you've really, you know, again, met the destination. You've experienced the destination by the time you leave. It's up close and personal with these engaging experiences that we built in throughout, pardon me, our trips. And it's all done in comfort and style. You know, our tagline is the art of traveling in style, and that's reflective of a few things. But I think one of them is the incredible accommodation. And with Insight, and you know, and obviously particularly in Europe, there's such a wide variety of types of accommodation: new, modern, old, historic, traditional properties, some of these castles, staying in the city center, you know, almost always in the big cities, so that you have really good access to things. But then these beautiful scenic locations in the countryside. And we want to treat our guests to the, you know, to the best there is available. So you can be be very comfortable, and you can travel in style throughout. Your well-being also is our top priority, and it always has been. We've been leaders in the industry and innovating in different ways, but our coaches, and I'll show you a picture coming up, are always new and modern. Our drivers take great care in keeping the coach very clean. As we are able to travel again, and in the times of COVID, we've put, you know, extra stringent cleaning measures in place as well, but also been very innovative as well. So we've introduced a new position called the Well-Being Director. So I've talked a lot about our travel directors leading trips. We have our wonderful coach drivers that get us everywhere. It's chauffeur-driven service. What could be nicer on a vacation than not having to drive and figure everything out in traffic and signs? And in the case of the UK, on driving on the opposite side of the road, we'll look after all that. Your luggage is looked after anyway. The only time you touch your luggage on an Insight vacation is in your hotel room, for example, but all the portage is included. It's a beautiful, relaxing, seamless experience. We've introduced this new well-being director. I'll talk a little bit about that. All the measures we've put in place for our trips moving forward are based on the WTTC health and hygiene standards. And you can see from the World Travel and Tourism Council, we have the safe travel stamp that they've given us for the measures we put in place. And considering not only Insight Vacations, but the Travel Corporation as a whole, which is a big company, we've got an incredible network of operations teams on the ground in Europe. So we're there 24/7. And again, in these times, if you considered doing a trip like I've just shown you, but renting a car, particularly in COVID times, what are the current restrictions, if you will, that are going on at any given time, or protocols? You know, you need a mask in this place or not in this place. We're on top of all of that, so you can relax and enjoy the trip. So the wonderful travel directors, your friend in a foreign land. That's how I always look at them. You know, if you wanted to go to any country in Europe or places around the world, and you just happen to have a friend that lived there that could take a couple of weeks off and take you all around, and they happen to be a major in history, they knew lots of people they could connect you with. They never had to wait in line anywhere because they had like a little VIP card that bypassed that. That's what we are. And you would, I think most of us would say, that's wonderful, let's do this. That's what Insight Vacations is with our wonderful travel directors. And the well-being directors, this is an additional person that will join our trips starting later this year when we're able to operate. And that person's sole responsibility is the well-being of our guests and our team members, and really working with the group as far as if there are any particular protocols in any places. We know about that. We're obviously going to have additional masks and sanitizer, all those things available. But they'll also be proactive working with the partners that we use along our journeys, the hotels, the restaurants, any sites and attractions, to make sure that they're ready for us and that, you know, they're doing things properly. And they've been vetted in advance anyway through our operations and contracting teams. But it's an extra peace of mind that we've put in place, because we know the magic that our travel directors create and the amount of things they do behind the scenes. They can focus on that, what they do so well. And the well-being director can be an extra person that's really there watching out for our well-being as well, in tandem with them. So it's a wonderful thing. We'll ask all our guests to do a pre-departure health declaration. There's still a lot of moving parts, as I mentioned. I think we all know that in these times. So rest assured, we will be on top of it as well. The other thing is we're incredibly financially sound. We, again, 100 years being privately owned by the Tolman family. We carry no debt whatsoever, and we're ready for the next 100 years. When you are ready, feel comfortable to travel, we will be here ready to take you and welcome you on any of our journeys. Talking about the cleaning protocols that we have in the coaches. There's a picture of one of our wonderful coaches. They're always new and modern, so you have the latest, greatest technology. And something that we're always so proud about with Insight Vacations is that our coaches were reconfigured a long time ago to only have 40 seats on them. Standard coaches in Europe can be up to 53 seats. We have 40 on the same size. So less guests on our trip, smaller group size, but much more space and comfort. Twice the legroom, twice the view out of the beautiful panoramic windows. These are all the little things that can add up and matter. So you think, I'm going on this journey. Well, isn't this wonderful? I can kick back and relax. It's chauffeur-driven service where we go. One of the beautiful things with our coaches is obviously they're bigger vehicles and you sit up higher. So a lot of these places, and I especially find this in the UK and Ireland, you got all these hedgerows. We sit up a little higher so we can see past the traffic, past some of the hedgerows, and get a little better view of everything. But what I love about this picture, and my line sort of in these times, is we were social distancing long before it was ever a thing. So you've got space and comfort and a smaller group size. Just to give you an idea, we take 40 guests maximum. We usually average low 30s as a group size on most of our trips. Starting this year and moving forward, we're identifying certain, on trips, certain dates will be small group departures that will be capped at a maximum of 24 guests. So you have the option of that as well. So I think it creates more flexibility. So of course, in those times when you are ready, when you're comfortable, then talk to your advisors at Paull Travel and start considering what you would prefer as far as a potential group size. But don't wait too long to book, because smaller groups, less people selling from around the world. Once things start to open up, those could fill very quickly, and I would expect they would as well. that is my presentation for you today, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So great, Brad. You can turn on your video. We want to see you now.
Here I come. Hang on, I'm just trying to. There we go.
Thanks, Brad. You've highlighted so many, but there's just a million reasons to travel on a coach, like a guided tour that you offer. I think of some of my past trips where I've tried to do things on my own and they just haven't gone right. And these things would not have happened if I was on an Insight vacation. So
it is. And, I always try to present that idea that it's not good or bad or right or wrong, but it is different. And I've been lucky enough to travel in Europe on my own. My wife and I have done a train, we've rented a car, and obviously done Insight. And I'd never say once I had a bad time on any of them.
No.
But for us, after about 5 or 6 days on our own, we're getting worn out.
Yeah.
And then the little bickering and arguing starts, and where should we eat, and what are we doing, and where are we going? And so there's a lot of things to be said about the way that we travel with Insight. So thank you.
Exactly. I know you answered this question about the size of the coach. Do you want to, someone was asking just about group sizes. Do you want to just highlight a few of the areas where and brands where the group size would be smaller?
Well, it's really, so with Insight Vacations, all our trips will have these. So if you take country roads of Wales, Devon, and Cornwall, they will have certain departure dates that are on our website called classic group size. So that is, if it's sold out, maximum 40 guests. Typically, and it's so hard to know how it'll play out when we open up. We're not going to be surprised if we have a little bit smaller. We usually average 32, 33 guests. So it could be maybe high 20s. Then we have other departure dates, which will be highlighted small group departure dates. And those will be sort of capped at a maximum of 24 guests. So on either option, we're still using the same coach with the 40 seats. So if you pick the maximum 24, if it's full, that's what you have. You could have 17, 18, 19 people on your trip, that sort of thing as well. And that's really mirrors our sister brand Luxury Gold that I look after as well. We were already doing that with Luxury Gold. So you take a look at the British Royale, certain departure dates, so-called regular, will take up to 40. With Luxury Gold, we've sort of been averaging high 20s, but then we'd have certain dates noted as maximum 24. So does that answer? The only other thing I'll add in is we've added a third option starting this year and moving forward, which is private. So this is where if with a minimum of 12 guests traveling together, we can take one of these trips and do it with the same coach in private. Now, there is a premium on the cost if you only had 12. The more people you get traveling together, the price comes down, if you will. So that's just something to consider as well with that. But that's where, and it may be like we get lots of groups traveling together anyway in regular times, but if the feeling is, if you have people on this that if they think, well, you know what, we could kind of wrangle together a group of people, talk to Paull Travel. If they can get a few more, like you can make your own group of Edmontonians, Albertans, whatever you want, and do it that way. So there's really 3 levels that are available for group sizes with that.
Perfect. And how far out do you have the trips available to book at this time?
As we sit here right now, we obviously have 2021 with that sort of moving target of not knowing quite when we'll start. We're optimistic that we can get some journeys going, hopefully by the summer, if not in the fall. I think I feel quite good about that. But notwithstanding that, we have all of 2022 dates and prices fully available now as well.
Okay, perfect. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much. There's actually quite a few people registered that are watching that have been on an Insight tour, and all of them, Insight's the best. One of a longtime client of mine, she wrote a book, Miriam's Travel Tips, and she wrote about your tours in her book.
Oh, wonderful.
So, yeah.
Well, to any past guests out there, we love you. Thank you so much for traveling with us. And anyone who hasn't had the chance, I hope that you do try an Insight vacation at one point. they're trips of a lifetime. The memories you come home with are so wonderful. And the people that you meet, not only in the destination, but your fellow travelers, that's also one of my favorite parts as well.
So true. So true. You'll not be disappointed. Excellent. Thank you so much, Brad, for that was an excellent presentation, for being with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, and we hope we'll get to see you again in person soon. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you again next week.
Thanks everybody.
Take care,
Have a great
everyone.
All
night.
the best. Thank you.
Thanks again, Brad. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.